My boy! Sutek's back! Ah! I am very much freaking out in a way which I'm probably gonna pull the steam from under my rug in a second as I rip apart the rest of the episode. But that was a that was a that was an epic cliffhanger. Like I think it's very Russell T Davis to do a cliffhanger that is very much reliant on I don't even know if he's this is like the sound of drums. No. Utopia. This is a utopia level cliffhanger. Because, you know, in Bad Wolf, we already reintroduced the Daleks a couple of episodes earlier. In The Army of Ghosts, the Cybermen were revealed to us a couple of episodes early in the season. Utopia was the one that shocked us with a reveal that would hit you harder if you were a classic Who fan than it would if you weren't. And then I think and then yeah, because then Still on Earth was what was the reveal in Still on Earth? I'm trying to remember now. Oh, the regeneration. So the reveal wasn't like the bad guys weren't like revealed in Journey of Still on Earth. Then we had the specials. Matt Smith's first cliffhanger was the testament knowledge here now. The Pandora opens and the reveal was everyone was working together, so that wasn't a bring back an enemy thing. Oh, what was the next season? This is I don't want to Google it. I want to be reliant on my knowledge. Season 6. Oh, series 6 was the reveal about how the Doctor like survived. So like was that even? I don't think that was even a two-parter. I think we ended on the Wedding of Riverstone, which I think was a one-parter. Series 7 was The Name of the Doctor, which again was a one-parter. And I guess the Great Intelligence has already been seasoned through again. The Master came back in Series 8, which kind of was the same thing, but so that was Series 8 kind of because we saw them early, but we didn't have any clue who they were. Series 9 was the Time Lords, but they were being they'd already returned, so they weren't a big reveal. Series 10 was the Cybermen, but they'd already been leaked.
Okay, I found this on the web for when was the Cybermen. Check it out.
I didn't ask you a question, sorry. That had already been leaked in promotional stuff, so we already knew that was happening. Series 11 was the villain from the first episode. That wasn't that good. Series 12 was the Master, who'd already appeared in the first episode. So actually, to be fair, the reveal of the Master in the beginning of Series 12, probably close. And then the series 14 was a Flux, and that was one of the specials. So I think this is the most wham surprise villain that hasn't appeared in a long time. Nothing's been they haven't appeared in the earlier series and come back. This is their big re-entrance. We haven't had that since Utopia, I don't think. Was that what we established? Utopia? Yeah, Utopia. Possibly Death in Heaven? Dark Water? What was the full episode of series 8 called? Yeah. And I've just been looking at Twitter and looking at the Sutek trending, and at least one person got it. One person was like, "Oh, if you take the first few letters of Susan and get Sue, and then you get the first few letters of Tech, you get Stu. I mean, the thing is, people were speculating Stu-Tech for the entire series. I'm not quite sure what gave it away because I didn't catch on to it. I don't know if this was like something that was mentioned behind the scenes. That I have a feeling it was something that was mentioned behind the scenes rather than something that was mentioned in the show. Because I think it was that baseless a suggestion or that baseless a theory. Not completely baseless, obviously, because it sounds to be true. Unless that was a pure coincidence. But people were like making a meme out of Stu-Tech. It's almost becoming the what's the devil called in Marvel? Mephisto. It was the Mephisto of WandaVision. People were saying, oh, it's gonna be Stu-Tech, it's gonna be Stu-Tech, and then it got to the point where people were like taking a mick at themselves to assume it was Stu-Tech. And then there is Stu-Tech, and it's kind of like it's kind of that horseshoe of theorizing where you get to the other point where you're like, you don't actually believe it's true, and it turns out to be true. But someone accurately predicted the twist of Stu-Tech. So they must have been losing their mind when the Doctor realized it was the wrong anagram. But I'm like, how much of this was threaded through earlier? Again, not much of Harold Saxon being the master. I think people were theorizing that Harold Saxon was a master because you could anagram Harold Saxon into something to do with the master, or you could translate some of the things into the master, and that was obviously something they used to do in the classic series quite a lot. So maybe there was a clue. Certainly it fits, but it could also fit to a lot of other things. I mean, the one who waits could equally... I mean, I would be equally losing my crap right now if we had to reveal that it was a Dark Guardian. Although I think Stu-Tech is slightly more... I have seen Pyramids of Mars. I've seen Pyramids of Mars once. I've seen it a while back. I think I need to do a rewatch of Pyramids of Mars because I can't quite remember it, but it was definitely like a very... Like, it was one of the most kind of, I think, closest like shaves the Doctor's come for. But you've got to like give allowances for 1970s TV. And the amount of suspense and like epicness they're able to portray is, I mean, and you know, it was very serialized. So you wouldn't, the idea of having a season finale in Doctor Who wasn't really a thing. You didn't escalate to a series finale. So like you watch the show, you would be forgiven for not even realizing you've reached the end of the series because the last, like the 10th planet, the last episode of Hartnell's run, isn't even, it's like the middle episode of the season. That's how much season finales weren't really a thing. So you didn't escalate to this build up. You just made episodes and they just ran one after the other. And so because of that reason, you don't really have a sense of Stu-Tech being this big escalatory villain. But there is an extra weight I recall from the episode, and I've watched back a trailer and I've read a quick geek article about it to kind of remind myself about what was the kind of aesthetic. I remember the plot vaguely. I know Stu-Tech was trying to do something. I remember Stu-Tech. I remember the mummies. I remember it being on Mars. I remember the fight. My favorite shot in probably the entirety of Doctor Who, which is when the Doctor and Sarah walk into a place, there's a mummy, and they just kind of turn around and walk out again. And as the mummy turns around, it's literally the best shot in the entirety of Doctor Who, by far. So yeah, I need to rewatch the Pyramids of Mars. I think loads of people are going to do. I would be curious. I bet there is undoubtedly someone employed by the BBC who is monitoring the rewatches on iPlayer now for Pyramids of Mars. Because I'm sure it's going to go up. I'm going to Comic-Con in 4 hours. And I'm going to probably download Pyramids of Mars to watch on my iPad. I don't know if I'm going to have time to finish watching the Ice Warriors. That's where I am in my classic Who rewatch. But, well, watching episodes I've never seen before. So yeah, I don't know. I'm struggling to separate my rational perception of that reveal from my emotive, because emotively I'm like, ah! Like I was, and they got Gabriel Wolf back, who as I understand it, retired, and they got him back to voice it. Like, that is perfect. That is excellent. I'm so glad. So glad. Because he was previously he voiced the Beast in the Impossible Astronaut, not the Impossible Astronaut, the Impossible Planet, and the Satan Pit. Also curious that I don't know if, big curious. I was gonna, well, it's kind of, I don't, words. You would have thought they would have referenced the Beast in this list of pantheon of gods. But I guess they did mention the Beast. But I don't know if that was like deliberately referencing the Beast that was in the pit, or if that's just the biblical beast that was being mentioned and it's a kind of like throwback and reference. And I don't know if it was a meta reference or an in-universe reference is what I'm saying. But Gilbert Wolfe voiced the Beast. He was obviously casting that role as a kind of like a meta reference to his role as Sutek, so it's kind of nice that we reference back that way as well. I don't know if they're going to retrospectively imply with a connection between the two. So, like, there was no way this could have worked without Sutek, so about Gilbert Wolfe voicing. I think that just made the scene so much better. And now I think about it, the color scheme of the cloud that was around the TARDIS, the orange, gold, and black, that was very Sutek-ish. When they manifested it, it was a big, like, canine-esque Egyptian deity creature just crawling over the TARDIS. I mean, the CGI is not fantastic. Let's not like over exaggerate the quality of what we were watching, but damn, was it like still effective. The jump scares of the skeletal minions, the harbinger kind of callback. I did like the fact that it was odd that they threw Harriet in there as like a random new character with like no significance, and it was like, well, what? And like out of universe, you're like, well, that's just a random character. Why are we focusing so much on them? But then they throw in some other random characters, and they've done it for that entire show as well, where they just have these characters who don't play any significance in the story. And it seems to be a thing Russell T Davies is doing. You kind of just assume it's start happening here again, but then it's like Dr. Kashi's on being like, hey, it's a bit weird that there's this new staff member who seems to like have this really like significant role who's just randomly here. Who actually are they? And it turns out they're a harbinger. That was a nice reveal. Oh, there's so much to talk about this episode. Shall we talk about, let me nitpick slightly of the cold opening, and because this is more to do with just how it was directed than anything else. But I mean, okay, firstly, nitpick. The top floor of a building is not a bridge. Let's not be pretentious. Also, why is Colonel Ibrahim the only person who salutes the TARDIS? Also, I think he salutes it in the American way, not the British way. Like, come on, man. I mean, United Nations, sure, but do it properly. Yeah. Why is he the only person who salutes the TARDIS? He also salutes it wrong. You don't turn and follow a finger saluting. You salute as it passes you. And before I pick up, I know I should have gone shot way down, but I can't because my mic's here. Clearly, all the reaction shots of everyone after Kate claps her hands and there's like the TARDIS is incoming, of everyone like nodding or smiling or whatever. That was just like reaction shots that were filmed completely separate of any other context. Like they were just told to react, and then they filmed the other parts separately. I can tell when the reactions don't quite match naturalistically. That's a nitpick. And then the links was like TARDIS Vector 1. What does that mean? Vector 1 what? What a completely useless term. But sorry, that's just me nitpicking. No one calls out Kate for employing children. Because we've been memeing about it on TARDIS posting all week. No one's been calling Kate out for like just employing children. And not only that, at the end when they evacuate, except for essential staff, apparently that accounts the 13, Amelia a genius, but the 13-year-old and the intern is apparently essential staff. Yeah, I was saying to Danny Ingley in the vertical chat, has said that RTD is so back. And I was saying, this is probably the biggest Wham cliffhanger. Not because any other cliffhangers are worse, but because, like, the last time I felt like this way was probably end of Utopia when the Master came back. Because I think that's the last time we ever had a classic Who villain return without them being pre-established in the series. Because the Master's return wasn't... It was... Harold Saxon was an arc word, but what Harold Saxon meant wasn't revealed in the series before then. I think possibly Missy's return in... the Master's return in Skyfall was probably the other one that was like that. Actually, Chibnall did a really good job of replicating that in Skyfall. But yeah, no, I'm excited because I have watched Pyramids of Mars and like that was like the Gothic era of Doctor Who. That was when like Tom Baker was doing other kind of Gothic stories, and we never really got back to that. I think maybe we would have got close, but even then, even like the dark eras of Sylvester McCoy's run wasn't quite Gothic so much. Like the Victorian Gothic, that was more just dark. If I'm trying to, I don't know how I can word a distinction, but I think the feel that there is a distinction. Should we talk about Susan? Because that, I am so, not gonna lie, I'm so glad it's not actually Susan. I think just because I'm so desperate to have I'm so desperate to have Carol Ann Ford reappear as Susan because Carol Ann Ford is still alive. And you know, it's the only way we're gonna get her back in Doctor Who. That if they recast her, I mean, not by like it wouldn't be narratively breaking. They've recast, you know, the Master. I mean, to be fair, I don't know if all the Master actors were alive when they recast it as John Sim, but they've had Time Lords come back and they've recast them, and when the previous ones have still been alive, I think, or whatever. It wouldn't have been breaking in any way if it had turned out to be Susan, but this just didn't feel like it deserved. There was too much kind of like what's going on here. And I suspected even from the beginning, when they mentioned very early on about the Susan connection, I was like, okay, well, let's go two ways. It could be, to be fair, mentioning very early on the Susan connection was clever, because I feel if they hadn't caught on to that early, I would have the entire time being like, it's gonna be Susan, it's gonna be Susan. Like they're acting as if it's gonna be a reveal, so it's gonna be Susan. But the fact that they don't make it a reveal, they make it a mystery, actually confused me enough to make me go either way. It's clever. It's clever when Russell Davies understood. I have to give him some credit here. Understood that fans would have clocked on early, so he gives that mystery to them early and he flags it himself. So then you're like, oh well, is it going to subvert it? Is it not going to be Susan, or is it going to play it straight and be Susan? And that's kind of how you have to do things nowadays. And there was enough mystery. I like the fact that even though they were like, yeah, we know it's it's an anagram of TARDIS, because then that makes the actual reveal later much sweeter. Like when you acknowledge, that's the thing. This episode acknowledged that the audience was smarter than the fans would clock onto things. So why try and keep that red herring away from them? Lamps the red herring, put the audience in the back foot, and then go along with that. I do think perhaps the Doctors, I don't know. Shuri Gatwa had a lot to play around with this episode, and it wasn't entirely. It's Some episodes he's just given like a few kind of things to play around with, and he is given quite a lot to play around with, and it kind of it means I have to like take a second to kind of like fully hold on to kind of the whole like what's going on here. That was a word salad. I'm very sorry. It is 1 in the morning. Like, give me a break. This is what happens when you broadcast Doctor Who at midnight. You're getting exhausted British Doctor Who fans, i.e. Doctor Who fans, not able to coherently express a thought. Here's the thing. Okay, let's talk about what I liked the least about this episode. I think much like Space Babies, it seemed like I was doing too much. I know they tied in both mysteries to the end, but I can't tell if it was clever or if it was messy. That's the problem. That's what I'm struggling with. I can't tell if it was clever or if it was messy. It was very classic Who, in that you've got seemingly like separate things going on, and it's only as they play out do they kind of connect, which is not something you normally have luxury for in modern TV with the much shorter kind of like run times of a story. So throughout the entire time I was being like, okay, well, we were talking about this a second ago, but now we're talking about this other thing, and now we're talking about this other thing, and like, what does that mean? And it kind of like keeps bouncing between these two things, and it's like, I know at the end it all kind of ties together, but it feels like it ties together because it holds a hand a lot, and it's like, here's the reveal. And I feel like if that reveal had just been a reveal, it still would have been. It was all a build up to a reveal, and the build up was just kind of getting us worked up rather than really pulling us towards a mystery. I think there's still a lot of uncertainties. I don't think it was like the most. Compare this to say Utopia. I don't think it was, or even Bad Wolf. I don't think this was like. I feel like this episode was a victim of its own success. Clearly, Russell Stevens is playing around with knowing what we're theorizing and trying to like cut us to the chase, and he did it successfully. But then we put so much on the back foot. Then when we're playing around with this mystery, we're trying to like. I think we're trying to overthink things in the episode, which means I can't actually enjoy the episode because I'm too busy trying to overthink it. Is that an argument to rewatch the episode again? Possibly. So I can appreciate the other elements of it. Certainly there are still elements like left hanging that we need to deal with, like who's Mrs. Flood? What's her connection to Sutek? Why does that mean she's able to break the fourth wall in the Church of Ruby Road? Assuming that's a significant thing that they did in universe, you know? I mean, she also almost kind of broke the fourth wall even this episode. We still don't know what the deal is with Ruby's mum and how that ties into everything. Are we gonna get an answer for why Snow keeps appearing, regardless of just by Ruby being around? Why is there Snow? Is there a particular reason why Susan Triad was threaded through the entire like previous trips the Doctor went on, including some that we didn't even see her on? I do think the opening episode had a lot of exposition, and it was kind of. I feel like we missed a step. So you know how like in Bad Wolf, there's that in Boomtown, there's that point where the Doctor starts to clock on that Bad Wolf's following them around, and they don't mention it before, but they clock onto there. And then the next episode is Bad Wolf, where it's been explicit. But it's a big reveal in the episode that Bad Wolf is definitely following him around. I feel like there has been like there has been not accusation was word. People have commented that Russell T Davies has been rehashing a lot of his kind of like reveals or his premises in like his return. Like a lot of the things that he's done since he came back, he's done before but better. And there is the kind of an aspect here. This is very much like the Bad Wolf kind of thing, but Bad Wolf did it better. Like it's not much different. It was executed better. Like you had that realization in the previous episode, and then during the middle of Bad Wolf, that's when both both Rose and the Doctor realize that no, actually, this is not a coincidence. Bad Wolf is passing us through. Whereas we skip that here, and the Doctor comes in basically with a purpose. Like, here are the two problems they want to solve. The lady's following us around, and who also why did I miss something? Why is it now? He's like, we need to find out who Ruby's mum is. Like, when did that become significant? Like, why now? Like, was he just like, well, I guess I'm in at unit anyway, I might as well bring it up. Because it's not as if he initially thought there was a connection. He was following two. He may have been suspicious that there was a connection, but it wasn't. There's not actually anything explicitly said that connects them. I mean, I know that what do you call it? What's his name? The new scientific advisor. I know that he comments that there is a connect, that you come to us with a mysterious woman, and another mysterious woman, and the same mysterious woman. But that's after the Doctor mentioned them as if there was a connection before, and he already dismissed the fact that they were probably the same person, I think. Or, well, Kate dismissed it, but I assume that's because the Doctor had already dismissed it as well. So I'm a bit confused about that part. Oh, a bit in a time window, that was tense. That was like tense. I think that helped. That helps really get you like your heart. I was like, something's gonna happen. There's still a mystery of how Sutek's latched onto the TARDIS. How Sutek even escaped the place that they were in before. I think the Doctor trapped him in some kind of time vortex, if I remember correctly. Oh. Shugai does a good job of like showing the whole like terror on his face when he realizes that it's Sutek. That was really good. I like that bit. It should have clicked to us the second she was like, "Oh, call me Sue." That was obviously going to be significant. They also Murray Gold. I heard the music, the same music. I think it was the Masters theme. But it's more the fact that it was a sound that's played when Yana realizes that they're the Master, and that plays when Susan Triad starts like getting these like weird flashbacks. And it's like, oh, you knew you were doing it at the moment trying to lead us on. Even then, I was like, are they gonna do it? Is it gonna be like? Is it gonna literally be two reveals, Sutek and Susan? But then it was like, nah, completely like just. But this big question of why Sutek felt the need to like word game his name. Like you had to be like, well, again, I guess it's just a thing that the Pantheon do, right? We name dropped a trickster, which probably means we're not going to see the trickster, which is a shame because Trickster's like one of the best Doctor Who villains of all time. That's never been actually been Doctor Who. But when the Trickster faced off against David Tennant's Doctor, it was like exactly what you want to see between an adversary of a Doctor and the Doctor himself. Um, I tell you something for nothing. When the episode next week resolves, we better, we better get a Carol Ann Ford cameo. We just have to now. Like you have invoked the name of Susan. Like you made it explicit. It's not that you've made the return of Susan a red herring. You are now obliged. You better have filmed a secret scene of Carol Ann Ford next week when I'm in Gateshead in the View watching this on the big screen. I better lose my breath because Carol Ann Ford comes on scene, and we better get. I also like. Oh, sorry. I should probably finish my sentence before I move on to my next one. We better get that reunion between the Doctor and Susan, because I know Shooty Gower is going to do its service, and I know Carol Ann Ford is going to do its service. I like the part where Case asked a question that a lot of us always ask, and why did they never go back? And I guess the answer kind of makes sense. I don't know how much I believe it for like even through everything else, and I don't believe that they wouldn't have tried to look for Susan after the Time War. But I mean, it does make sense that they didn't want to go back because they didn't want their life became more and more dangerous, and they didn't want to drag Susan into it if Susan was happy. And I guess that kind of checks out as an explanation. I'm just trying to think what else in the episode caught my eye. I think there was a moment where the Doctor met Susan for the first time and was trying to be like, "Are you Susan?" And there was nothing. You could tell from his reaction that he wasn't. That you could tell from their reaction that they weren't getting anything from Susan. And that one was like, "Okay, at this point, it better not be Susan, because if it is Susan and it's just the Doctor doesn't recognize them, I'll be so like aghast." Like there is a way to do the Susan Doctor reunion right and to do it justice. And it's so easy for Russell Davis of all people to do it wrong. I'm going to watch this episode. Well, I am going to watch this episode again because I'm watching it in cinemas next week, part of a double bill. There is no. Sorry, if you're one of the people who's going to see the double bill in cinemas next week, I mean, I'm saying this in the video now, but you were watching this before you watched the episode. You're a fool. There is no way this cliffhanger of Sutek's return is going to stay off the internet for an entire week. This is big. And it was done well. I think it's probably the best thing Russell Davis has done all season since they came back. The tea lady wasn't in the montage of Susan's, which kind of makes sense because why would they have an image of it? But I thought it was interesting to point out. Maybe I just realised it now. And Ruby's still in the time window area, so she's still facing an image of her mother. Oh, I was so expecting a jump scare when we were like looking at the image of her mother from the back, and it was just like flipping in and out. I think because of the angels. What else? Oh, someone give me something to talk about. What else? I'm excited for next week. I'm excited to see what Sutek brings. Just that whole like monologue that Sutek does as he comes back. I mean, there's another question of why they needed Susan Tried in the first place. That wasn't answered, was it? There was nothing like she was meant to release a code, but they never did. Also, haha, Elon. I'm assuming it's an Elon Musk reference. That was yeah, yes, put that in there. Um, there's definitely a different like rank style of Russell Darius that exists now than existed back when he wrote in the early 2000s. I think he's adjusted for whatever his brief was. Yeah, no, I'm hyped. I think we're reaching 35 minutes now, so I'm probably gonna end it there, because I can't go on for too long, and I need to rest for a bit, probably, and then get ready for Comic Con. I need to have breakfast. Absolutely, have dinner. Okay, is my plate? Does it key out? No, okay. It's green. It doesn't key out, but blue does. That's really weird. Right. We'll see you on Wednesday for more Acolyte, but then we'll see you. I don't know what time we're going to be online live next week because, like I said, I'm Gateshead. See if I can afford a taxi home. I'm probably gonna walk home by being like, what? Anyway, Cooper.